Today, India operates a fully realized nuclear triad. That means the country possesses the capacity to launch nuclear warheads from land, air, and sea. But how did a newly independent, developing nation build this level of self-reliant military power while completely isolated from the established global order? The origin traces back to 1948. Physicist Homi Bhabha established India's atomic energy program with a very public goal: developing a peaceful civilian energy infrastructure to power a growing nation. Yet behind closed doors, Bhabha and Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru shared a different understanding. They were quietly laying the groundwork for a military weapons program, using the civilian energy research as a covert foundation. From its very first day, the program operated on a calculated duality. India projected a commitment to global peace while meticulously building the technical capacity for the ultimate strategic defense. Net defense became an urgent necessity in the early 1960s. India suffered a border defeat to China in 1962, and shortly after, Beijing successfully tested its own nuclear bomb. The theoretical threat was now an undeniable reality right next door. In response, the Indian government accelerated its hidden track. They authorized the construction of a plutonium reprocessing plant, securing the fissile material required to actually build a weapon. A decade of secret engineering culminated on May 18, 1974. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi gave the final authorization for India's first underground nuclear explosion. Deep beneath the Pokhran test range in the Rajasthan desert, an 8-kiloton device detonated. The successful test was relayed back to the capital with a now famous coded message: "The Buddha is smiling." The international reaction was furious. The United States levied harsh economic and technological sanctions, and major global powers immediately formed the Nuclear Suppliers Group specifically to choke off India's access to nuclear materials. India's first major scientific triumph in the atomic age resulted in immediate, severe diplomatic exile. They had the bomb, but they were now entirely cut off from the global scientific community. Through it all, India steadfastly refused to sign the Non-Proliferation Treaty and the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. They viewed these agreements as discriminatory systems designed to lock in the monopoly of established powers while disarming everyone else. Because of this refusal, heavy sanctions remained. To survive global surveillance, the Indian nuclear program retreated underground, operating for decades in absolute secrecy. While India worked in the shadows, regional dangers escalated. Throughout the 1980s, Pakistan rapidly pursued its own nuclear bomb, bolstered by an emerging technological collaboration with China. Boxed in by extreme diplomatic isolation and flanked by nuclear-armed neighbors, India had no choice but to independently accelerate its weapons program without outside help. The breaking point arrived in May 1998. Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee authorized Operation Shakti, a series of new tests that pushed India past the point of no return. The operational secrecy was absolute. Top scientists, including future President A.P.J. Abdul Kalam, wore army uniforms and conducted their preparations almost entirely at night to evade detection by United States spy satellites. They successfully detonated 5 nuclear devices, with yields reaching up to 45 kilotons. With these blasts, India officially declared itself a nuclear weapons state. This defiance triggered another massive wave of international sanctions. But it also definitively secured India's position as an undeniable, self-made nuclear power capable of dictating its own security. Possessing a nuclear arsenal is inherently dangerous, without strict, transparent rules governing exactly when and how those weapons might be used. In 2003, India published its official nuclear doctrine. Its core pillar is the no first use policy, guaranteeing India will never initiate a nuclear strike. However, the doctrine includes a caveat: massive retaliation. Any nuclear attack on India will be met with a devastating response. As this visual shows, the strategy relies on credible minimum deterrence. India maintains only the exact amount of weapons required to guarantee that retaliatory strike, actively avoiding a reckless and expensive arms race. This doctrine reverses the traditional aggressive narrative of nuclear proliferation. India codified its weapons as a strictly defensive deterrent, meant to prevent war through the certainty of retaliation. To make that doctrine credible, India developed the nuclear triad. The land-based leg consists of the highly capable Agni and Prithvi series of ballistic missiles. The triad is completed in the air by modified combat aircraft like the Mirage 2000, and at sea by the INS Arihant, a nuclear-powered submarine that provides a stealthy, highly survivable second strike capability. This immense independent buildup forced a shift in global politics. In 2008, the US and India signed the Civil Nuclear Agreement. This landmark deal finally granted India access to global nuclear commerce without forcing them to sign the Non-Proliferation Treaty. India's nuclear journey represents decades of absolute self-reliance and strategic patience. By maintaining a posture of defensive restraint, the nation eventually compelled the international community to accept its nuclear status on its own terms.